Morning, YouTube. Um, this video early this morning, it's gonna be me speaking specifically on a fellow YouTuber of mine that I follow, and I've mentioned him a few times before. His name is Ricky Manor. I follow this brother because he speaks from a level where, and there's not that many people who share this unique perspective. He and when I talk about balancing the scales, but he does it more with an in-depth outlook on things. He's not all about being all pro-black and anti-white and stuff like that. No, he speaks and points out the fuckery on both sides of the aisle. Something that I myself try to do, you know. And it's funny because people don't take, and this is the problem that we have, and I'm gonna say this in reference to black people, and he don't even refer himself as being black. He refers himself as being the melanated rebel. Okay, which was pretty genius and creative on his part, and I understood why he chose to go that route. But for the familiar terminology that is most commonly used amongst black folks in the black community, we have this sense of the division amongst ourselves that I spoke of before, and there's many factors that play into that. And people are comfortable with those factors that, when addressed, those uncomfortable conversations that people don't want to have because they are so set in their ways about how they see things from a critical level, to sit there and justify their judgment on other people, especially black folks towards other black folks, is the reason why we're in an unhealthy condition that we're in right now. Okay? But and in my opinion, I'm not saying this is accurate, but I knew from an antagonist point of view why he decided to say, you know what, I'll put the Confederate flag in my background. And I said, you know what, I understood why he did it, and I knew it was going to receive some backlash, which, to no avail, it did. He's been called Coons, Uncle Ruckus, this, that, and everything else, out of just pure ignorance, as responses from other black people and white people as well towards him. Which is funny because I always say, you know what? You're judging a book by its cover. You're not taking a time out to look at the details and the content that's within that book. You just saw the cover and said, fuck it. Nope. I'm not going to pay no mind to this. Why should I? And that's the problem that we have, and why we lack the understanding of each other, because we don't take the time out to pay attention. We just take things at face value and judge it for what it's worth. And that's a problem. But people are so conditioned to accepting that as being a problem, they don't care. They're too busy trying to fill the void of certain narratives that they don't understand why they're doing it. Just because they're jumping on bandwagons trying to follow this person, that crowd, this crowd, whatever. And then they talk about, oh, we have the right to free speech, the freedom of expression, and we get to think freely. Obviously, you're not thinking freely, because if you was thinking freely, you want to be followers. You would stand on your own accord, which a lot of us do not. We see something that attracts us and what we see and say, oh, We got to become cult followers of this and cult followers of that. You're not standing on your own. You don't even understand the reasoning behind you're choosing to follow something. Not doing your due diligence in researching some of the criteria that may give you some insight on why certain things exist that you choose to follow. But to get to the point, and I'm saying this to back my brother up, okay? He caught some flack, some backlash in regards to him putting the rebel flag up. Now, me personally, I've said this, and I'm being the antagonist right now. So I don't care what people might say, because like I said, you're entitled to your opinion. You have the right to your opinion. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. We are privileged to exercise those rights to free speech, to freedom of expression. And you have the right to your opinion, your point of view, and how you see things. But 9 times out of 10, the way people are seeing things with certain judgments are inaccurate. I know there are misinterpretations. People look at the symbolism of the Confederate flag as a sign of hate. And I understand that to a certain extent. My girlfriend just texted me to see if I can go get diapers. That's if you see that I'm distracted. I'm reading the text message that's coming through. But they don't understand that the Confederate flag has a different meaning, that it symbolizes heritage to most people. For them, it's not a symbolic reference of hate. But some people only gravitate towards something to fit their narrative that they choose to ignore where other people are coming from in a different sense. You heard what I said now. People choose to ignore because they are so caught up in their emotions that they don't want to listen to reasoning or rational thought because they don't care. But the hypocrisy is this. You're getting on this man for having a Confederate flag in the background, but yet, here's what I talk about, selective acceptance, right? How's it that Kanye West could wear a flag, the Confederate flag? Nothing said. Little John and the East Side Boys on his cover wearing a Confederate jacket. Ludacris wearing a Confederate jacket. Outkast has a Confederate belt. What's his name? Vic Mensa. He got Confederate patches. The problem with this country is that we're so quick to want to cancel and do away with that even if there is some uncomfortable content behind our history, it is still part of our history regardless if we agree with it or not. Case in point. Let there be some representation of black folks in regards to, like Malcolm X, which Ricky Manor was talking about, or Martin Luther King, or anything that represent anything of the black community, and someone decided to cancel and take away that. Black people wouldn't be too happy with that. And what if that offended other people? What if our history offended other people? Does that give them the right to take away what was part of our history? I'm just saying. Are we just doing things out of convenience just to appease the uncomfortableness of other people? I'm just asking a legitimate question. Yes, I've grown up around people that up north. Now I'm speaking up north, not down south, up north, that drove around with Confederate flag license plates, flags on the back of their trucks and stuff like that. And yeah, they may have had some ignorance about them, but ironically, because I engaged with them, and they got to know me as the individual, as a person. And yeah, they were convicted with some of their prejudices, but I got to know them as people as well. And we got along. And we ended up cracking jokes about certain things. You know? Um, Not all people, regardless of their prejudices, are bad people. Yeah, there's some ignorance that cross the line, overstep their boundaries, and that's on both sides of the fence. You can't just condemn one side and not look at the other. And that's why I talk about trying to bring balance to a situation. You can say, oh, there's some racist ass white folks. Da, 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 da. Oh, they just some ignorant ass. But there's some ignorant ass black people too. And it's funny because a lot of ignorant ass black people attack their own people. Growing up, I've had my fair share of dealings with racist white people on the job force, dealing with the police. Yes, I've had that. I've also had my dealings with racist ass black people towards me. But people don't want to have that conversation. People don't want to talk about that. They rather brush it to the side. That's why when I be having these conversations, I tell people there's nothing that you can tell me because you're preaching to the choir, because I know these things exist. I've experienced a lot of this stuff. I'm not negating the fact that some of these things don't occur. I've been subjected to some of this shit. That's where the understanding comes in. That's where I can say there's validation of certain things. But people choose to ignore that, not accept that, because it don't apply to them. But they rather push their shit up on you as though you need to accept it or else. No, you don't. You don't want to be criticized and condemned, but you're doing the same shit that you're accusing other people of doing, out of convenience of where you stand. And that doesn't make sense. That's making you a hypocrite. I point out a lot of things for the simple fact of making a point. Like I said, you don't have to agree with me. You don't. You have that right. That is the most lovely thing about having that privilege in this country. You do not have to agree with me. I'm not forcing you to agree with me. There is no consequence behind you not agreeing with me. But why is it that when people don't agree with you, there has to be a consequence? It doesn't make sense. And it's a bunch of bullshit if you ask me. I'm just saying. But anyway, I didn't want to make this too elaborate. I just wanted to share that out. And shout out to my boy Ricky Manor. I'm going to send a link because he has something interesting to say. I caught one of his videos. And people need to really listen to this man, because he got a lot of good points that he brings up. And I'm glad that his following is getting up there where people are following him because he has something to say. I follow him because there's not that many people that has a clear head in what they're saying. And no, you do not have to always agree with somebody. I don't always agree with what he says. There's some things that I try to challenge him on in the comment section. But there are things that he has some validation to when bringing up certain subject matters and pointing out certain things. A good example would be that I know I say this, but we don't attack each other. He follows Trump. He's a Trump supporter, whatever. I'm not. But there's some things that he speak on that I might say, hey, you know what? I can see where you're coming from with that. I agree with that. like I said, I don't follow parties and stuff like that. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I don't follow these politicians and stuff like that. That's not my cup of tea. Because, case in point, you have all these people in the position of power that they're in, and they're not doing anything for the people. All they doing is making negotiations to fit what suits them and the policies that they're trying to push as a representation of their party, not the people. So when people say, "Oh, well, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution," yeah, I'm not the problem. I'm not hindering people from making a living. I'm not hindering people from living their lives. I'm not sitting in the comfort of my own financial status while other people are suffering, delaying decisions and point out things that I see fit to the peasants beneath me. That's not my mentality. If I was a politician, number one, shit, I'd probably take a pay cut and see where I can apply the funds off of what I make to help people out. I'm just saying. But politicians don't. The reason why they're politicians is because they benefit from their position of power. And you see this going on. But anyway, that's a different topic for another day. Until next time, until next video.